A wonderful good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're gonna learn how to make one of everyone's favorite breakfast foods, pancakes, in a very, very healthy, nutritious, and absolutely delicious manner. So I'm really excited to take you through this. Now, first of all, let me tell you what we're gonna need for today's sessions so that you can make your own pancakes as well. So we're going to need 2 eggs. We're going to need a bowl for mixing. We're going to need a plate. We are going to need a knife and a fork. And for the grown-ups, you will decide which kind of kitchen tools and utensils are suitable for the age of your child today. So please feel free to step in and take over as many tasks as needed to keep your children safe in the kitchen today. Then I have a small measuring spoon and I'm going to use that for my oats. And then I like to add cinnamon, but this is absolutely up to your taste and up to your flavor. So if you like, you will take your cinnamon as well. Then we're going to need a banana. So later on, we're going to add the banana onto the pancake, but I'm giving you a little tip right now. If you don't like the texture of bananas on top of your pancake, you can also mash a banana up and put it directly into the pancake mix. We're going to need a pan. You will need a spatula just to turn the pancakes around. We're going to use cooking oil, and I'm going to show you a tip on how to make it a little bit safer for the little ones using kitchen roll. And then we're also going to need yogurt, or you can use milk as well. So if you prefer to use milk, that is fine. And of course, you can go with a dairy-free alternative as well if needed. Fantastic. All right, now first of all, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to remember what we learned in the last few sessions of Created Kitchen. So we were talking about the different macronutrients. And for you to remember, macronutrients are the main ingredients, the main components that make out our food. And all these macronutrients have wonderful, important roles and functions in our body. So we have carbohydrates, we have protein, and we have fat. And again, all of these 3 are essential, meaning that we should always consume all 3 of these macronutrients. So in today's pancakes, we actually have all these macronutrients. We have the carbohydrates in the oats. We have the healthy fats in both the eggs and also in the yogurt. Then we have the healthy protein, again, in the eggs and in the yogurt. And we have even more carbohydrates as well as vitamins and other nutrients in the banana that we have on top, or if you prefer, in the pancake mixture as well. Sounds great, isn't it? So what we're doing here is that we are replacing the traditional pancake recipe with some more healthier alternatives. So you will notice that there is no sugar here because we actually have a lot of sugar already in the bananas. We're not using regular flour, we're using oats instead. So why are we using oats? Well, the oats are a good source of carbohydrates, but they're also rich in something called fiber. And the fiber just helps your body to utilize the carbohydrates even better and actually a little bit slower, so that we are maintaining a very healthy blood sugar level within our body. Now, don't worry, you don't have to remember all of that, but I will be talking about it again at a later stage. Now, let's go ahead and start with our pancakes, shall we? So the first thing you're going to need is your bowl and the eggs. Okay, and we're just going to open the eggs and we're going to put the whole egg into the bowl. So again, for the grown-ups, please decide how much work you would like your children to take on today and where they need to be assisted. Remember to keep it safe and keep any sharp objects away from the children at any time. So I'm just going to open the eggs and I'm going to put them into my bowl. There we go. Now we're going to put the oats. Now I have my measuring spoon here. If you don't have a spoon like this, just go with about 2 tablespoons full of oats. And it depends a little bit on how thick you want to have the pancake mixture. I'm actually going to add just a little bit more because I like my pancakes nice and thick. And then we're already adding the last ingredient, which is the yogurt. Now, the reason we're using yogurt here, or the reason why I'm using yogurt, is because yogurt is a little bit more solid in texture. Because of that solidity, it is higher in protein than milk, for example. It is a little bit lower in fat in comparison for the same quantity. And also it is lower in lactose. So you might have heard of lactose, and lactose is actually milk sugar. So a lot of our ingredients do have sugar, as we mentioned before. For example, in fruits, we have fructose, which is the fruit sugar. And here we have lactose, which is the milk sugar. So the denser any kind of dairy product, the less the content of milk sugar. And I'm using Greek yogurt here. So again, Greek yogurt tends to be just a little bit more dense than other yogurt types. But again, you can absolutely do this with dairy-free alternatives as well. So for example, if you were to use your almond milk, you could do that, or any other kind of product that you would like to use here. So that all works. Now I'm going to take just maybe 2 tablespoons. Just going to close this up. And then we're just going to mix it all together. Okay, now as I told you, I like to add a little bit of cinnamon, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So having the cinnamon in here as well. You could also add nutmeg, for example, or any other herbs. So I actually know some people that like to add a little bit of salt into their pancakes as well, just a tiny bit, to give it a little bit of a different flavor. So that would work as well. So you want to have your mixture nicely together. There we go. All right, now we're going to go ahead and prepare the pan. So because my mixture is a little bit thicker, I'm actually using a quite big pan, and I'm going to make small pancakes. Okay, because otherwise it gets a little bit difficult to turn it sometimes. But if you have a small pan, please feel free to go ahead and use it. Just make sure that you wait a little bit longer before you attempt to turn it. Now, I'm going to tell you a little trick on how to make it a bit safer for children to work with hot cooking oil, and also for you to actually use less cooking oil. So one thing that you can do is go with spray. Okay, now spray, if you buy it like this, it's actually quite expensive. So you could absolutely find a spray bottle and just fill your normal vegetable oil into these spray bottles that you purchase. But another good way, and this is something where children, you can now follow along, is if you take some kitchen roll and you just fold it up. And then, this is where the grown-ups might want to help a little bit. You're opening your regular oil. You're just going to put it on, and you let a little bit of oil soak onto that kitchen paper. And then you're just gonna nicely distribute it in your pan. Just gonna take a tiny bit more. So really good way to use for any kind of dishes where you actually want to be sure that the cooking oil is evenly distributed, but you don't want to use too much, because obviously we want to use oil a little bit more sparingly. And if you remember the reason why, it is because fat contains 9 calories per gram in comparison to your protein and your carbohydrates, which have around 4 calories per gram. Good. Now this is looking fabulous. So we're gonna go ahead and just turn on the pan. And again, I like to put my pan as far away from the edge as possible to keep it super, super safe, making sure that the children can't reach there by themselves all the time. Okay, now whilst we're heating up the pan, we're just gonna stir our mixture a little bit longer, making sure it stays nice and smooth here. So as I said, you can either use a smaller pan or a large pan like me, and I'm going to show you in a second how that looks. Just going to take a moment here to warm this up. Just put my yogurt back in the fridge. So many of our favorites, our favorite dishes, we can actually make in a very healthy way by just replacing a few items, a few ingredients with other options. And the flavor very often is the same. So if you remember in that first session, we did that little experiment where we were chewing bread for such a long time that it actually developed that really sweet flavor. Because remember, carbohydrates are nothing but really sugar if we're breaking it down into the smallest parts. So here we have the oats and we have the banana to help with that nice sweet taste that of course we all love and we all want to have. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put my pancake mixture into the pan, which is now nice and hot. So I'm making 4 smaller pancakes in this large pan. Again, feel free to use a smaller pan. And I'm just using my normal tablespoon to actually distribute the pancakes. And I'm going to show you in a moment when they're a little bit set what this looks like. So again, for the grown-ups, please choose and decide, depending on the age of your children, of your child, how much work they can take on today and where they need to be assisted. Of course, they always need to be watched and supervised closely. Good, so I'm just going to let this set for a moment before I show you. Please go ahead and do that. And I just wanted to recap on a more traditional pancake recipe, which is absolutely healthy and fine as well. So your traditional pancake recipe also only has 3 ingredients, where it would be regular flour and milk and eggs. So pretty much the same. So we kept the eggs, we replaced the milk with yogurt or your other alternatives, or of course you can still use your milk, and we replace the flour with the oats. So that's actually your pancake recipe. Now, if you want to have a look at one of the ready-made pancake mixes that are available in the supermarkets, you'll be surprised how many ingredients you're finding in there. And of course, even if you add sugar or if you add syrup or if you add honey into your 3-ingredient pancake, it's still a much healthier option than going with these highly refined and processed pancake mixes. And now you know that there really isn't any need for that as well, because, well, we only have 3 ingredients, right, that we need to put together, and then depending on your flavor, on your taste buds, you can add other ingredients as well as needed. So you could, for example, go with nuts. If you like, you can add date paste as well, which is a great natural sweetener as well. That really, really adds a nice bit of flavor. So let me show you how my pancakes look here in the pan. Here you go. Good. And I'm just going to turn them in a moment. So take your time. Maybe you're still mixing away. And yeah, as I told you, I'm adding a little bit more oats because it makes the pancakes a little bit thicker, but then also a little bit easier to turn. So especially if you want the children to take over that job, keeping them small and having that thicker texture is quite a nice way to really let the children take part as well. And then normally the second side, you actually don't need to leave the pancakes on for too long. So I'm actually going to turn this off at this point and just move the pan aside so it doesn't get too much more heat. And I'm going to go ahead and cut up my banana. Very good. So don't worry if you're busy at this time. You're just gonna take it nice and easy, and again, decide for the right tools for your children, making sure we're keeping it safe. As I mentioned before, you can mash up the banana as well and put it into the pancake batter directly. So if you don't want to have the texture, then that's a good way to do that. And there we go. So my pancakes are ready here. Obviously, I've prepared some for you before. But now here we have the freshly baked round. And then you can just go ahead and spread the bananas on top. Again, you can absolutely add a little bit of date paste if you have, or even just cut up dates, raisins, for example. You could add any kind of fruits with it. You can add your cinnamon if you didn't add it before. You can also sprinkle it on top, of course. Any other kind of herbs, of spices that you would like to use. And these are absolutely my favorite pancakes that I myself eat all the time, because it's just such a nice, delicious meal. And whether you are the children or you're the grown-ups, it's definitely a delicious way of changing your food up a little bit. So if you're with me already, we're going to go ahead and taste them. Very important that we actually get to eat them. But I'm going to give you a little bit more time. in case you're not ready yet. Make sure they're not too hot if you're eating them. Let's see. Very, very good. Another nice way of making these a little bit more interesting could also be to add blueberries. So I always like to have frozen blueberries in my fridge and then to just put them over, and you actually don't really need to defrost them because it gives you that nice different of flavors and textures and temperatures when you're having the warm pancakes together with the still a little bit cold blueberries as well. So that's a really nice way of making it more interesting or just changing it up. You can add your peanut butter as well if you're tolerating nut butters. You can add any other kind of spreads, of course. Just as always, be a little bit careful about the sugar content that you might find in marmalades, for example, or in other kind of chocolate spreads. Very nice. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how you could make these into chocolate pancakes as well without adding sugar. Now, you can actually get chocolate powder. If I find mine now. There we go. So any kind of cocoa powder or just chocolate powder, and you just need to add a tiny little bit into it, and it gives them a nice rich chocolatey flavor and color as well. And then again, absolutely delicious with the bananas. We've added that chocolate flavor. So if you are having the chocolate cravings, then that's a good way to add into that as well. Good, so I think by now, hopefully you have done your pancakes. So if you haven't tried them yet, I'm going to have another bite because they're so delicious. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the ingredients that we have and about the nutrients that we have in these delicious pancakes. All right, excellent. So let's talk a little bit more about nutrients that are required for our bodies to grow healthy and strong and to make sure that you stay healthy so your immune system can work properly. Just going to recap on the immune system. In the previous session, we were talking about the immune system being the body's own police. And these police guys, they get into action whenever there is any kind of illness or disease is about to happen through viruses and bacteria. And viruses and bacteria are absolutely normal. They are everywhere around us. So even just touching a surface, even if it's clean, there is going to be healthy bacteria on the surface. So our bodies are very, very used to deal with bacteria and with viruses. So it's nothing to be scared of. However, we do want to make sure that we give our body's own police, the immune system, all the necessary tools and weapons to fight the unhealthy bacteria and the viruses that we have in the system as well and in the surroundings as well. So what are these tools and what are these weapons? Well, they are vitamins and they are nutrients. And in general, we can say that we have more vitamins in fruit and we have more minerals in vegetables. So we want to make sure that we eat not only fruits or not only vegetables, but both. And again, we have many, many ways of getting our fruits and getting our vegetables into our diet, even if you don't like the texture and even if you don't like the flavor of them, because you can always blend them up, you can mix them into your sauces, you can put them in small, tiny amounts, so you're still getting some of the nutrients, but you're not actually having to chew them down. So keep that in mind. Now here I want to talk about the great nutrients that we have in banana. Banana has a great mineral called kalium, a vitamin called kalium. And kalium regulates our heartbeat function, and it also regulates our muscle tone, together with magnesium. We also have magnesium in this dish because we find magnesium in the oats, and we also find magnesium in the dairy products that we have in here. So very, very important. Now, both together, kalium and magnesium are really great in regulating muscle tone and muscle function. And that's very important as you are growing, because children, you are doing so much hard work growing every single day. You're getting a little bit taller, you're getting a little bit stronger. So it's really, really important that you support your body doing all that hard growing work. Right? Now, for adults, this is also important because we're still depending on our muscles heavily, right? Even so we do not grow the muscles anymore, we still use them. So we also want to be sure that we keep them healthy, that we keep them strong, that we're keeping them nice and subtle as well. Now, children, some of you might experience pains in your bones as you are growing. And that is perfectly normal. Don't worry if you don't. It is also normal not to experience these kind of pains. But we call them growing pains, and they normally appear in the legs and maybe in the shin area, so the lower leg, and maybe in the knee area. So these growing pains can really nicely be supported by magnesium again, by kalium, and also by calcium. So calcium is actually the mineral that your body uses to produce more bone mass. So these pains that some children unfortunately experience are literally the bone growing. So you can feel your bone growing. I know it really hurts, but at least now you might understand why it hurts a little bit better. So just try to see it as a way that you're actually just getting a little bit taller and you can feel that happening, right? So the calcium we also have in this wonderful little dish, which are our pancakes, which we all love because we have the dairy products in there. So again, this is such a well-rounded meal that really supports healthy growth, that supports your immune system, that supports you growing, but it also supports you to relax and recover when you are a grown-up already. Yeah. So again, this all is done in a pancake, and who doesn't love pancakes, right? Well, I had so much fun doing the pancakes with you today. I'm going to eat them right now. I'm sure you have been eating them whilst I was talking. I hope you were. And I just wanted to remind you that we have a wonderful nutrition guide on the website of the Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority. It's a downloadable guide. It comes in English and in Arabic, so please feel free to download that. And also have a look at all the videos from Dr. Yum. So Dr. Yum has a few great videos up there already that are all about healthy nutrition, healthy eating, making nice fun stuff together in the kitchen, children and grown-ups together, and we'll be giving you lots of nice ideas on how to take it further after this session. Thank you again so much for joining. Please fill out the survey at the end of our session that's coming up right now. And I'm going to go ahead and wish you a wonderful rest of your week. And I will be seeing you again soon. Take care.